You have to be 18 to play the stock market. I sold chewing gum in 6th grade, blow pops in 9th grade, and collected baseball cards through high school. But cards are long dead, and the candy market's usually quite local.
Don't let this video fool you guys. Despite Josh Luber's TED Talk in 2015 where he squashed the idea of flipping trading cards in favor of sneakers for his beloved sneaker data platform StockX, Josh Luber is one of the most successful modern-day entrepreneurs of our time. So much so that despite crapping on sports cards in front of massive audiences just 6 years ago, he has quickly pivoted, seemingly going all in on sports cards. As early yesterday, he made news that made shockwaves around the collecting world when we all learned that Topps baseball cards will be ending its 71-year relationship with Major League Baseball starting in 2026, in addition to losing its Major League Players Association license in 2023. All because the group Fanatics, who we all know who sells merchandising through the leagues, whose sports card division will be headed by Mr. Luber, decided to pay 10 times what any previous licensee had paid for a license, and be the sole producer of Major League licensed and Major League Players Association licensed sports cards starting in 2026 and 2023 respectively. No, I have nothing against Josh Luber. I'm pretty sure he's an awesome dude, and honestly, it'd be really cool to meet him and talk with him. So even if he decided to head up Topps, I probably wouldn't care. But it is a seismic shift. But the news doesn't just stop there. If you've been living under a rock for the past 24 hours and didn't hear this news, you'll be heartbroken to find out that Fanatics is also on the verge of striking deals with the NBA Players Association and NFL Players Association as well. There are a number of issues and reactions to discuss, as this has massive ramifications for the sports card hobby moving forward. But just to summarize this information, let's go through a couple of these licensing issues one by one. Starting in 2023, Fanatics will own the exclusive license for Major League Players Association products. This will allow Fanatics and Fanatics only to create sports cards and depict images and names of the players who are part of the Major League Players Association starting in the year 2023. That means Topps ends in the year of 2022. So starting in 2026, Fanatics will own the exclusive license for Major League Baseball. So 2 separate licenses. This will allow Fanatics and Fanatics only to depict images of Major League Baseball teams, logos, and branding. Again, to make a trading card, you need not only the Major League Players Association license, but also the Major League Baseball license so that you can depict the players as well as the logos. Panini right now has a Major League Players Association license, which is why they are producing cards of players like Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, etc., but they can't depict images of those players in their team uniforms because they don't have a Major League Baseball license. So this is going to be a different stepwise fashion for Fanatics. They're first going to get the players, meaning in 2023 they're going to be able to make a Fanatics sports card product, but they won't be able to show team logos on those products until 2026. Okay, it doesn't stop there. Fanatics is also going to be getting the NBA Players Association license, allowing Fanatics to create cards of players who are a part of the NBA Players Association but not the teams, as this is again a separate license, a license that Fanatics is likely and reportedly also going to be pursuing. And then equally so with the NFL, Fanatics is also getting the NFL Players Association license that allows them to do the exact same thing in the NFL as they are doing in the NBA. Reportedly, and this is information that I've tried to gather, the NFL and NBA league licenses for Panini are set to expire in 2025 and 2026, respectively. This news has absolutely rocked the sports card world, guys, and it leaves a couple of questions as well as thoughts and reactions or comments from my side. This news has rocked the world so hard that even Mudrick Capital, the SPAC group who just months ago went into a preliminary agreement to buy Topps, has now terminated their deal as of this morning. I mean, this is creating shockwaves across the entire collecting community, but also Wall Street. So I initially created a video on this, but thought best to pull it back to let this news digest to avoid being emotionally charged, because guys, it was very emotionally charged and raw, and nobody wants to really see me out there on a rant or a tirade. So before I jump into some of the questions and comments, I do want to go through some of the news articles and also just step by step with how this unfolded. So the big news that really shocked the world yesterday is whenever Darren Rovell from Action Network dropped this tweet like a bomb. I mean, this was way harder than even a Woj bomb. So Darren Rovell, Major League Baseball and the Major League Players Association have awarded the next trading card license to Fanatics. Topps will be out after 70 years. So if you click on the link, it takes you to the article. Let's just go through this. For 70 years, the names Topps has become synonymous with baseball cards. That longevity was threatened Thursday as the Action Network confirmed that Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Players Association have given their exclusive license to Fanatics. The union deal doesn't start before 2023, and the MLB deal won't start until 2026. Terms of the deal are unclear, but sources say that both MLB and MLBPA will have an equity stake in the new company formed from scratch just to produce trading cards. Fanatics has hired StockX founder Josh Luber to run the business. Again, Josh might be a great guy, but what does he know about sports cards, and why is he going to be heading this up? Again, 6 years ago, he was just crapping on sports cards because sneakers were the thing, right? Like, nobody collects sports cards anymore. So you're telling me that nobody collects sports cards, yet the person who's going to be leading all sports card production for the NBA, for the NFL, and Major League Baseball is going to be a shoe guy? Really? Okay, let's keep going. Fanatics spokesman declined to confirm the news. Calls made to Mudrick Capital were unanswered. I'm sure they were. The deal presents a major issue for Mudrick Capital, which is taking Topps public in a deal valued at $1.3 billion. While Topps will have 5 seasons left on its MLB deal, losing the license in the future automatically makes it a shell of its former self. Yes, totally. This deal might completely undo, and this is later confirmed, it did undo the business combination between Mudrick and Topps. Shareholders are expected to vote on the deal next Wednesday morning. Well, they didn't even get a chance to do that. They've already backed out. Sources said that Major League Baseball offered Topps the right to match the deal proposed by Fanatics and was unable to reach the number. Not a surprising result, given that Fanatics is worth nearly 14 times what Topps is worth. So that's a big reason why Topps went public, is because they were trying to raise the funds to compete for these licenses, and apparently, going public in this combining forces with Mudrick was not enough to outbid Fanatics, who paid reportedly in a separate article, a Wall Street Journal article, 10 times more than what any licensee has ever paid Major League Baseball. And we don't know if that's on a per year basis or on the lifetime term of the contract basis. That's just how it was reported in the article. But again, let's assume that it's on a per year basis. Topps paid Major League Baseball or Major League Players Association over $20 million for their license last year, and I believe Panini had paid the NBA over $25 million last year. So if Fanatics is really paying $200 million a year, just think about all the shit products that we're going to get. All right, I'm not going to go into that because that goes into my comments. A recent valuation put Fanatics, which is branching into many other categories, including sports betting, at $18 billion. The deal might be far off, but it falls in line with Fanatics becoming the behemoth that it has. Arguably, no player in the business of sports has been as disruptive as Fanatics has over the past decade. The sports giant has conquered merchandising to become the largest independent seller of team licensed gear in the world. It then went into sports memorabilia, buying up companies to become a name in the autograph game for its recent move into sports betting. It hired away FanDuel CEO. I don't care about him. Topps produced its first baseball cards in 1951 and made its most famous card a year later, the Mickey Mantle rookie. It's not a rookie. 1952 is not Mickey Mantle's rookie. 1951 is, just for clarification, which is still the most valuable post-war card in the industry. Before the establishment of a licensing agreement that aggregated all the players, Topps used to sign players to 4-year contracts, paying them in advance $75 to $50 a year for the rights to their name and image on the card. So thank you, league licenses, for doing this and squeezing every single dollar out of us collectors and also those who are buying licensed products. We really do appreciate you just bending us over and sticking your fist up our rear. Topps was the most valuable license in the Major League Baseball Players Association, paying the union $20.4 million in 2020. According to the union's annual report with the Labor Department on Wednesday, Topps reported quarterly earnings and raised annual guidance from $740 million to $760 million to $830 million to $850 million. Net sales in the quarter that ended in mid-July increased 77.7%. So yeah, Topps was doing very, very well, as was everybody who was making cards. It's a boom, but that is not going to last forever. So it's well known that Fanatics was looking into the trading card business, but since almost all the value is in the licenses, it obviously felt that it was worth it just to sign the next set of deals. Topps assets, including old designs, are a huge part of the trading card history. Without baseball, Topps would only have soccer, and who cares about that? All right, so breaking news this morning, hot off the press, Mudrick SPAC Topps deal collapses after losing Major League Baseball card deal, and I've not even read this. Topps company will no longer go public through a merger with blank check firm Mudrick Capital Acquisition Corp., a significant blow for the trading card market after it lost its longtime contract with Major League Baseball. The deal to go public was ended by mutual agreement after notifications from MLB and its Players Association that they wouldn't renew their agreements with Topps when the pacts expire in the coming years. Mudrick said Friday in a statement, the league agreed to a new deal with Fanatics Inc., a rapidly growing sports apparel and collectibles retailer, Bloomberg said. The MLB decision was a major setback for Topps, which has made the league's cards for decades. The affiliation has produced some of the most notable trading cards in history, including a 1952 Mickey Mantle that sold for $5.2 million at auction earlier this year. MLB and the Major League Players Association gave notice Thursday of their decisions not to renew the Topps deal, Mudrick said. Topps expects to be able to produce substantially all its current licensed baseball products through 2025, pursuant to its existing agreements. The company said in a separate statement. Topps this week raised its forecast for the year after reporting a 78% increase in second quarter net sales. So that's interesting. They believe that they can continue to making products, and I'll talk a little bit about what those products might look like, because it's likely not going to include players who are part of the Major League Baseball Players Association. It's likely going to include retired players. So former players, which is a big part of Topps' brand, and those are products that all of us collectors really enjoy buying, but they're not going to be able to make products, from my perspective, of players like Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani, assuming that they're still going to be in the league at that point in time. Topps now risks being largely edged out of the burgeoning trading card market, which has exploded in popularity as sports memorabilia gains traction as a legitimate alternative asset class. The rising interest from investors has also heightened competition between Topps, Panini, SPA, which produces cards for professional basketball and football leagues, among others, and now Fanatics for exclusive licensing deals. Fanatics may be poised to further expand its presence in the card market after signing separate deals with the National Basketball Association and the NFL, the Wall Street Journal reported Thursday, citing unidentified people familiar with the matter. Topps, co-owned by entrepreneur or entertainment mogul Michael Eisner since 2007, agreed in April to go public through the deal with Mudrick, a special purpose acquisition company. The party said at the time that they expected a combined equity value of $1.2 billion. Shares of Mudrick stock rebounded from a pre-market slump of as much as 9.5% to trade 2.4% lower as of this morning. More stories like that on Bloomberg. So, just some initial reaction before I get into some questions and thoughts. Keith Olbermann, I totally disagree with just about everything that he says, but he hits the nail on the head here. Well, here's the latest evidence that Rob Manfred is baseball's Jim Jones. He's ending the 71-year relationship with Topps at the historic peak of interest in Topps cards. This moron and the morons who work for him cannot see past next Tuesday. I agree with him. That's my number one reaction, and we're not going to get to my reactions yet, but Rob Manfred, you're idiot, you moron. All right, guys, let's get into my comments and questions. Okay, first 6 questions. What does this mean for Major League Baseball licensed products cards in 2023, 2024, and 2025? So this basically means that because they don't have a Major League Baseball Players Association license, they cannot make cards of Mike Trout. They could theoretically make them, but they can't put his name on the card. And I don't know how that would necessarily work with his image, like a picture of his face, for example. So does that mean that in those 3 years, we're just going to get nothing but a vomiting of retired sets? So players like Nolan Ryan, George Brett, all those guys who show up in the retired sets, Cal Ripken Jr., Possibly. I think that's a distinct possibility. But what does that also mean for Fanatics? Does that mean that Fanatics is going to be able to make all these cards and they're not going to have team logos? So it's basically going to be Panini for 3 years. So if you want prospects, or if you want Mike Trout cards, or if you want, Acuna Jr. cards or Soto, does that basically mean that you are going to have to get unlicensed cards for 3 years? That sounds pretty trashy. So that in itself is a threat to the entire industry. So if Major League Baseball doesn't have the foresight to see into the future that this deal not only is too expensive for collectibles to be made at such a quantity for them to be desirable in the future, but also the fact that we're going to go 3 years without logos on our players for baseball cards, and how that's not going to be a potential threat. Not only the fact that the league and the union, the players right now, are arguing about whether or not there's even going to be a baseball season next year because they're two freaking idiot groups, a group of billionaires and a group of millionaires, arguing over millions of dollars whenever we make thousands of dollars trying to collect pictures of these stupid grown-ass men, and they want to squeeze every dollar they can out of us. Topps paid $20 million last year to the Players Association. And the Players Association and their president and their vice president and their leadership is like, nope, we see sports cards taken off. And actually, we see the images and the rights of our players taken off because everybody wants to have their own brand nowadays. They want to hoe out their ass on Instagram and on social media, and everyone wants to be their own brand. Like, that's the thing. It's not that these players make enough whenever they're getting $250 million lifetime contracts or contracts over 10 years. No. That's not enough money. Millions of dollars is not enough money. Let's get them more. Let's just squeeze out every penny that we can from all these deals so that everybody has a vested interest in this. And guess what? I get to keep my job for the next decade because I was able to generate all this value. So thus I get to be, president of the MLB Players Association for the next decade. Yeah, congratulations from Rob Manfred, who is commissioner of Major League Baseball. You're a f***ing idiot. And all the leadership for your Players Association, you're idiots too. All right, next question. What does this mean for players with exclusive licenses like Mike Trout? So Mike Trout has a lifetime contract with Topps. Does that basically mean that once Topps stops making baseball cards, that Mike Trout will no longer be able to, sign autographs for Major League Baseball cards? Very similar to LeBron James with Upper Deck, Michael Jordan with Upper Deck. Is that what's going to happen? Well, guess what that means? That means that autographs of Mike Trout are about to skyrocket, if that's the case. So we'll just quickly go through that one because that one's still hasn't been resolved. But I can guarantee that those autographs are going to skyrocket whenever the game's best player can't sign autographs for a Major League Baseball trading card company. All right. So are the NFL and NBA Players Association licenses exclusive? So again, they're going to be pursuing the league licenses, but it's reported that they already have, some deal under the table for the NFL and NBA Players Association license. Are those exclusive? So what we're seeing, we're not hearing whether or not that's exclusive or not. We know that Major League Baseball is exclusive, as Topps is not getting a license. It's going to Fanatics. So does that mean that Panini is now forced out? Are they out of making football cards, or will they be able to also make those cards, and will there be a sharing of licenses in those leagues? We haven't heard about this. This is something that really needs clarified because that in itself is going to have major ramifications, where if we just have Fanatics across all three leagues, and then we have little old Upper Deck down there making hockey cards, and maybe Topps making soccer cards that nobody really cares about. Sorry if you care about them. I don't. It's a speculative thing that people are now jumping into that people literally did not care about 3 years ago, but because of social media influencers and people on YouTube, now they care about it. I don't. If that's just what the landscape is going to be like, and we just have Fanatics everywhere, that's really, really going to suck. Okay, what does this mean for the hobby, like brick and mortar stores, sports card shops, and distributors? And I'm really going to focus on the distributors because this is actually a great thing. Fanatics getting the license is terrible in every single way except possibly this. This is where the distributors have made their money hand over fist, and they have been the ones who have bent over collectors and royally screwed us. And here's where Fanatics actually outwitted Panini and likely the distributors. So whenever Fanatics has released cards previously under specific deals through Panini, right? So the Fanatics boxes that get released through the Fanatics store, I believe it's Prism and I believe Donruss, there have been those types of products. So imagine the angle that Fanatics has whenever they're doing these deals. And imagine the data elements that they were able to receive. So basically they, in working with Panini, understood the cost to make that box. They understood how much money they were going to sell those boxes to for the distributors to then distribute. And then they also saw the markup that the distributors were selling to the end consumer, whether it be directly to the consumer or directly to a card shop, who then had to mark the prices up again. So they got to see every data element along the way. And do you not think that that was enough data for them to say, you know what? We see how much these distributors are marking up their products. If we go direct to consumer, because we already have a really good distribution network and we also have partners in retail outlets such as Kohl's, etc., we can totally eliminate the distributors and cut them out. So it remains to be seen what the distribution network is going to look like and whether or not Fanatics will take full circle of the supply chain, being the manufacturer, the distributor, the grader. And also, because Josh Luber is a part of StockX, now they're going to try and own the marketplace, or they're going to try to take over a pie of that marketplace. So you can also see eBay now competing, for marketplaces, as eBay is very upset that Golden and Heritage and PWCC and StockX are taking some of their market share. They've also seen spikes in their sales and fee revenue over the past 2 years because sports cards are booming. But they're also very upset with these platforms, which is why PWCC got canceled, or a big reason why they were canceled. So it remains to be seen how this trickles down to distributors and then also the card shops. So will there be direct accounts with Fanatics? Will brick and mortar card shops be able to sell, sports cards and be able to buy them at a reasonable price to then mark up? Will Josh Luber care about the card shows or the card shops? Will he care? That's the question. So it remains to be seen. Last two questions. So Fanatics has their own slabs. What does this mean for grading companies like PSA? Will Fanatics go after that pie? So again, they own the entire supply chain now and the entire distribution network. So making the cards, distributing the cards, selling the cards. They even can do grading if they want to, because they have those ugly ass slabs on their site that they sell for about 100 to 200% markup above what anyone in their right mind would want to pay for them. So could they actually go after PSA, or could they create their own grading company, like straight from the pack going into a Fanatics slab? I would personally hate that. I would probably crack every single one of them out and then send them to PSA, because PSA, I trust them over anyone else as of today. But that also remains to be seen. Last but not least, so will Fanatics go after Topps and Panini intellectual property? And this is the question that I'm hoping there's a positive answer to, because if there is a positive answer to this, and if Fanatics, who essentially has 14 times the money backing them, compared to Topps, not so much with Panini, but definitely with Topps, if they actually absorb these companies and buy these companies and extend that arm out, then all is probably going to be well with the hobby, because we'll continue to get Topps Chrome, we'll continue to get Bowman Chrome. I don't care about Panini. I hope that they go away anyway. I would actually be a breath of fresh air to have someone new, because Panini can't even get game-used jerseys right. They can't get stickers right. They can't get checklist of good players right. That's why we have John Salmon's autographed stickers and National Treasures boxes this year that cost $30,000 a box. That sounds pretty horrible, right? They can't even get a jersey into a card that is a fake jersey. They can't, not even a real jersey that comes off the back of the player whenever they're playing in a game. No, they can't even go to Walmart or Fanatics and buy a replica jersey to insert into a card. You're seeing so many lottery box hits for these gambling idiots who are doing these breaks, getting their cards like, oh, I don't have a game-used jersey. I don't even have a jersey. Not even a game-used jersey. It's not even a replica jersey. It is a card that has an empty window for their swatch. There's so many examples of this. So, yeah, go away, Panini. I don't care about you. The only bad thing is because Fanatics paid 10 times the amount of money than any other licensee paid for Major League Baseball, and you know they're going to pay a lot for NFL and also NBA. Guess what? We're going to get 10 times the production, 10 times the checklist, also 10 times probably more stickers, probably 10 times less quality. And also probably 10 times less game use, because guess what? Fanatics owns their own jersey shop, aka replica shop, meaning they could just need to go to one of their stores, cut up a bunch of jerseys, and put them on their cards. They're not incentivized in the slightest to go buy actual game used memorabilia to put in their cards. And shame on you collectors for buying this shit. Shame on you for letting Panini continue to pump out this garbage and make it acceptable today. Shame on you, because you are the people who are at fault here for allowing this to happen. People like me actually care about whether or not game used memorabilia actually exists. Things like game used basketballs, game used nets, game used jerseys, game used shoes, things that Upper Deck and Topps used to make. Up until fake jerseys and manufactured patches started to come out, which actually, to be fair, was part of those companies. But Panini took it to an entirely different level, and guess what? Fanatics is entirely incentivized to continue doing that and not put a single game use item in any of their products, because they had to pay 10 times for their license compared to any other licensee for Major League Baseball. All right, end of that rant. Now let's get into my reactions. First one, I've already said this one. Rob Manfred, you're a f***ing idiot. That's it. All right. Second one. We think current production numbers are bad. Again, number of products are going to skyrocket. Printing is going to skyrocket. All the things that you need to do to pay for a license, that's a lot of money to pay for a license. So what are you going to do on your end? You're going to cut your expenses. You're going to cut your expenses, and you're also going to try to increase your revenue by pumping out as much products and making them as expensive as possible to recoup a bunch of that money. Terrible. 3. Anything pre-2018 NFL football is going to be gold. Anything Topps flagship baseball, whether it be SP, Variations, Chrome, Bowman Chrome, anything that has a Topps logo or Bowman logo before Topps loses its deal is going to be absolute gold. And not only gold, especially if you have players who have not had a lot of Topps cards, or at least just a handful of years, whether it be Fernando Tatis Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., Wander Franco, Bobby Witt Jr., if they become superstars and they only have 1 to 2 years worth of Major League Baseball licensed Topps cards, you don't think that those cards are going to be absolutely gold moving forward? This is going to follow the exact same trend as Upper Deck and Topps whenever Panini stole the license in 2009. Whenever Upper Deck and Topps, their Topps' last year was one of the best Topps products ever. PSA 10 Steph Curry Topps NBA logo or NBA licensed Topps cards sell for almost $10,000. Topps Chrome, $50,000. I mean, it is one of the... And everything else before that, the refractors, the parallels, everything immediately saw a boost in value. Upper Deck autographs, things like Exquisite, not just from Michael Jordan and LeBron James because, Panini couldn't make those. But if you go back and look at Kobe Exquisite, you look at Kevin Durant Exquisite, you look at, any player that had a high-end autograph on-card, patch card, something that Panini could not replicate, that stuff is now gold. Exquisite became Exquisite after Panini took the license. That's whenever Exquisite took off to heights we haven't seen. It was obviously the premier product at the time, but it absolutely exponentially increased afterwards. And we're going to see the exact same thing, perhaps to a smaller degree, but we're going to see the same thing with select cards in Topps and Bowman. So if you have numbered gold refractors, if you have on-card autographs, those are going to be the things to get from Topps. All right, number 4. 2023 is the year that baseball cards officially die, in my opinion. Forget the nostalgia aspect and the brand recognition for Topps. I'm not even going to touch on that because that's obvious. Collectors obviously connect with their childhood and the Topps brand. Baseball cards and Topps are synonymous. And thank you, Rob Manfred, for ruining that. The big part about this is it's not just the fact that it's a new baseball card manufacturer. It's the fact that they had to pay 10 times for the license. What do you think that is going to mean for the products that we get? That means we're going to get 10 times the products, 10 times the checklists, 10 times less quality, less on-card autographs, more stickers from players that suck, less game-used items, right? So this is going to be terrible for us, because in order to pay for this license, and again, this could be a loss leader for Fanatics. I could be way off base. In order to pay for these products, they're going to have to make a ton of it. And if you make a ton of it, sports cards becomes the next Beanie Babies. Like, it becomes something that nobody wants to collect because everybody has it. Nobody wants 1 million base cards of whatever, or even a couple 100,000. I mean, Panini is already there. Nobody wants a Zion Williamson Prism rookie. Prism was an amazing brand, and now they're making a million of those cards. Or not 1 million, we're getting pretty dang close to 1 million. I mean, we're in the couple 100,000s. Anytime that we're going to be approaching 6 figures for a base card, way too much. But we're talking about probably 7-figure production for base cards in order to pay for this license. Do you think anybody cares about a card that has a population of 1 million made? I don't care if there's cards that are graded and it has a 10% gem rate. That's 100,000 PSA 10s out there. We've already seen that once a card hits above 5,000 PSA 10s, that pretty much kills it. We have a bunch of cards that are in the 10,000 club. We're getting a couple of cards near the 20,000 club, and we've already seen what happens to the values of those cards. Anything that has more than 5,000, you're dead to me. Anything more than 1,000, I kind of don't want for my PC, outside of a handful of exceptions. We need pops of less than 1,000 in order to be collectible. And in order to have pops of less than 1,000, that means that we need production that's also very low, because cards are coming out of the pack at a pretty high gem rate. I mean, we're looking at 40, 50, 60% depending on the product, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. So again, in order to pay for this, Mr. Luber is going to have to crank those presses. So I'm hoping that he brings his experience and expertise with sneakers, and I hope that in some degree that translates over, because scarcity is what drives sneakers. Scarcity is what drives baseball cards. And if you have that expensive of a license, I just don't see how you recoup that money unless you cut back on quality, you increase the presses, or you increase the prices of the boxes that you're charging right now at an astronomical value. So bye-bye $20 blasters, bye-bye hangers, bye-bye those cheap things. I mean, those prices are going to be 4, 5, maybe even 10x, by the time we get around to buying those at whatever store that they're going to partner with. Or they may not even sell them at the store. They may sell them direct to consumer, and that may be part of the strategy, because they're cutting out the distribution network, which is a big part of the inefficiency in this hobby. But again, you're still going to have to increase the prices, because the distributors did not mark up products 10x. Even if they marked it up 2x, how are you going to make up for that 10x in fees that you paid for the agreement? It's just not possible. All right, and that goes to my fifth and final point. I touched on baseball cards being dead in 2023. The fifth and final point is I think sports cards probably are officially going to be dead in about a decade. At least for new cards. The old cards are always going to be collectible. I mean, Mickey Mantle cards never fell out of favor. Michael Jordan rookies never fell out of favor. Babe Ruth cards never fell out of favor. Honus Wagner never fell out of favor. It's because high-grade copies of those cards are always collectible. But in 10 years, your average run-of-the-mill card, unless it becomes iconic, I really think that this hobby is probably going to die. And this is where I don't put blame on Fanatics. I don't put blame on Topps. I don't put blame on Panini. I put blame on the league, players associations, and then I also put the blame on us as collectors. And here's why. These players associations, again, are trying to maximize the value for their players and leagues. Again, they're representing their clients. They're representing their players. And whoever's ahead of the players association, they have a very short-term outlook. If they can stay in that position for 5 or 10 years and claim that they maximize the value for their unions and also for their players, and thus they get to share, more revenue of the pie, by all means, they're doing a great job from their perspective. But guess what that's going to do? That is going to kill the collectability of sports cards, because the quality is going to have to go down, the production is going to have to go up in order to pay for these licenses. And I blame people like us for continuing to buy the garbage out there that is being put into these packs and being made by Panini and Topps, Topps to a lesser extent, but definitely Panini, and all the garbage that they're buying. So all you people signing up for group breaks and all you people signing up for these random gambling slots, you're buying a bunch of garbage. Like, all these National Treasure, like, rookie patch autographs, they're not even real patches. People are dropping millions of dollars for fake patches, for garbage. So do you think Panini is incentivized to put a real patch in there? Hell no. I would much rather go back and buy a Michael Jordan autographed game use jersey or patch. Well, guess what? You can't find those because real collectors are collecting them, and they know what they have, and they will never see the day of light. And whenever they do see the day of light, guess what? They sell for records. They continue to shatter records because that is what real collectors want. It's not a bunch of neckbeards who are signing up for group breaks, at thousands or hundreds and thousands of dollars per slot, hoping to hit their next LaMelo Ball. So shame on you for buying this garbage and driving up these prices, because guess what? Products have gotten so expensive, and it's because of you, the consumer, who are driving up these prices and causing companies like Panini and Topps and Fanatics to pay hand over fist for these licenses to fatten the paychecks of all these players and all these league association leaders. And everyone is making money out there and taking the money outside of the collector. We are literally gambling our money away into the pockets of the players and the leadership of these league associations. So shame on you all. All right, that's the end of my rant. Hopefully you all enjoyed it.